Hello engineers, welcome back to another episode of Automated. We are hitting up Stellar Nexus Into the Tropiverse and we are going to try to get a 5-star solution. As with always, to start with, we need to pick the right recipe to make what we want to make. We are pretty familiar with the quantum core singularity. We made one last episode. There's no alternate recipe for that. There's a bunch of alternate recipes for this stuff. Let's have a look at this thing, Stellar Nexus Singularity. If we change the recipe, either way we're going to need a quantum core singularity, but we can change it to either require support beams or power cables. I mean, support beams definitely looks like the easier solution, so let's try to do a design with that. We've got 2 levels to work with. The output is once again up here. We need to make 30 in a minute 10, and an advanced cutter makes 60 per minute, so I think our final design is just going to involve 1 advanced cutter. Let's put that down to remind ourselves that's what we need to do. So it's not going to fit up there unless we put it in like this, which is going to require a lot of... Oh, this level is just tiny. Let's just put one up here because I have a feeling we're going to need this up here. Feeding into the advanced cutter is going to be a manufacturer and an advanced press. But a manufacturer can only make 60 per minute of this, so it's 2 manufacturers. So let's put our 2 manufacturers down. I'm just going to put them here to sort of remind myself that these 2 need to make this. And we need 1 advanced press. I feel like we're going to need to fill in this entire map at some point in our lives. Alright, let's start working on this side of things. So into the advanced press, we need to feed 60 per minute of this. Wait, we need 120 minute of both of these. What? That's crazy. How would you get 120 minute? You'd need 2 advanced presses. Oh boy. Am I looking at this map right? Yeah, I am. And we've got to get all this done in 250 power somehow. So this side of things is pretty straightforward. We just need a cutter on the iron to turn it into 120 iron pipes per minute. So the iron is here, 60, and we need more iron here, 120. There's not even enough iron to do this entire process. Is that what this is telling me? Is there a different recipe for this? Yes. This one makes more sense for this because it uses copper. Otherwise, there's not even enough iron. We need 120 iron for this side. There's only one thing with 120 iron. So it makes sense if we're going to do this, we're going to use this recipe, which uses the copper and the stone. And because they're cutters, they make everything into 120. Not this one, but this one we're going to need 2 cutters for. And the advanced cutter can turn 120 into 120. That's what that's telling me. So we actually only need 1 advanced cutter. That definitely feels like the right recipe to me, so let's set that up. We're going to need a cutter to go into here for the copper. Ah, the copper is coming out at 180, so we need to split this. 180 generally means we need a 2 to 3 split, and then we can combine 2 of them to make the 120. Then we need a cutter on the stone. The stone is coming out at that. Do we need more stone in this side of the process? It doesn't appear we need more stone on this side of the process, but a cutter can only cut 60 and we need 120, which means we need to split this stone and then have 2 cutters like that. And then that's your 120. Why do you hate this? This is not an advanced cutter, is it? There we go. There's your 120 of this. And now we got to try to do that in the smallest footprint possible. So it almost makes sense to do this like backwards, right? Let's just put it here for now. Like that. And like that. There's your 120 of this. Let's work on the other side of things now. Now to make 120 of this, we definitely need 2 manufacturers. Wow, how are we going to do 2 manufacturers? That's crazy. This is not enough space to do all this. So 2 manufacturers, this thing makes 120 and this thing makes 120. So we're gonna need 1 cutter and 1 cutter into the manufacturers, and then it's gonna need to split into these manufacturers. It's gonna be an interesting design for this. Is there an alternate recipe for this? We don't need to make 120 of this because 60 per minute of this turns into 120. So this would be the correct recipe, the welder. This looks like the simpler recipe. 1 furnace makes the coal that we need. Wait, do we even have coal? Hold on. Where's the wood? We don't even have wood. Am I going insane, or is there a part of the map I'm not seeing? Because I don't see any wood at all to make coal. If you're enjoying the video and you want to support Data Engineer Plays, don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. And if you have any feedback or suggestions, feel free to share them in the comment section. Right, I figured it out. We don't need to do this step because this thing's already outputting 120 of the steel. So we don't need to do any of this stuff. It's already made for us. We just need to combine the steel with copper. That makes sense. So let's just put something here for now and get it working. So there's our 120 of that. Can we not just cut the steel? Because we don't need 2 belts of this. I don't see why we need all of that steel. This is also a bit of a challenge because how do we now get this out of the way? We might need to move this. So we can cut this out of the way, 1 tile. That shouldn't change anything. Got to change the belting around a little bit. That way it gives room for this to come out like maybe here somewhere. So we'll get the cutter like this, and then that'll come out this way. This way, this will allow it to have the 120, but we need to split both of these things into manufacturers. That's going to be the challenging part. So we've got the 120, 120, and we need to split that into 2 belts of 60 each into 2 separate manufacturers to get the 120 that we need. So let's just get a solution going. We've already used up way more power than we need to. I feel like we can probably move the manufacturers down here, like here and here. If we move this 1 more tile out, give ourselves some more space, then we have enough space for a splitter. Let's just put one in. Like say here for now. But if the splitter goes here, then we don't really have enough space to put an elevator or anything. Space is really tight in this map. Let's get this thing out of the way for now because we can put that wherever, right? I'm just gonna put a cutter here that tells me that these are the materials that I need. Let's do this side of things first. I think the cleverest way to do this is to put them side by side with a splitter like that. That way at least one material can go directly in, right? Like that, for example. Then the iron is split directly in there. Wait, why did I need iron in there? I'm confused. I don't need iron. I'm not using the iron at all. The iron is a bait. In which case, maybe we should be using the iron to do this. I don't know. This might be a better recipe if we just cut the iron instead of the coal. Wait, no. Instead of the stone. Instead of using this. Oh man, there's so many different permutations of this. It's going to be so difficult to decide. Let's just stick with what we have. The iron is a bait. So what we want is this thing to go into, say, like one of these. I'm just going to put one in for now. Doesn't really matter. Then whatever happens here, one of these is going to need to be like an elevator of some sort. And one of them is just going to directly go in there, but it needs to split, right? So like this, and then say we go in like that, and then we do something like that, right? Then there's our 2 things, which we can now bring like that. And then we can put an elevator over here and bring that up as one of the inputs to this machine. Cool. Now we need to put our advanced cutter back in somewhere. And yeah, there's like nowhere to put this. So instead of using this thing, if we were to instead use this thing, we only need 60 per minute into an advanced press to get 120. Do we need 120? Yeah, we do. So we don't need any of this. Because we only need 60 per minute. We only need a cutter and a cutter. And then an advanced press is this, for example. And that can go in like that and like that. And that gets us our 60 per minute of this. But we need 120. All right, so this is not right because then we would need 2 of these. And we need to do all the splitting here. That would be a terrible idea. So then this iron is the bait. Is that what we're saying? If the iron is the bait, then what we need to do is continue what we were doing, which is cutting these. Why do I need this? That gets me the 120. If we do this, what we had before, then that gets me the 120. And if we feed the 120 and 120 into an advanced cutter, then we're gravy. I want to feed it in like this, but there's not enough space. What if we were to move this 1 to the right? Like this. And then that way it can go around that way. It's not efficient, but we'll optimize later. There's your 120, but there's no output for this. There's no output for it. I can move it back 1. Right, we can move it back 1, it'll use more belt, and then at least I can output the material that I need. And we can turn it this way immediately, then use an elevator that goes upwards. Like that. Then from the elevator we can go like there. That's like the worst, but we're under power still. I mean, we still have available power, obviously way over our objective power. But does that even give us a solution? Then we can optimize that solution, right? So let's run this and see if it even works. This is not working. Oh, right. I didn't connect the final belt. Silly. Try again. Does this give us our 1 minute solution though? It does, and it puts us in 52, and obviously we just have the power to solve for. So the belting here is obviously not the most efficient. We can do the most easiest fixes, which is just to move this. So we just get this as close as possible. We can save on a lot of belts. Something like that. That would save more belt. That gets us to 282. It doesn't save much more belt. But let's remove all our belts and we'll figure out how much power we're working with, and that'll give us a good idea of how much belt we can use, really. So machines only, we're at 158, so we can use quite a decent amount of belts. We just need to figure out where the most optimal place to put those belts are. My immediate thought would be, what if we were to remove this? If we cut this little system out, we can put it here, right? And that works exactly the same way as before. Except, oh, if only I could have this feeding up into here. But we'd want something like this, but we need to feed this copper into here in the most efficient way possible. But that requires a split. And since we're not using this 3-way split, can we not just use a 2-way split here? Let's move this machine out of the way first. If only I could split this better. So if I had a split like this split is the difficult one. What if we were to invest 1 belt by moving all of this out 1 tile? That would still work, right? And now this thing can go in like that. Then we can turn immediately into there. And we have enough for the elevator that goes this way. So we want something like that and that. That is better than what we had before. But the elevator doesn't fit. That sucks. We can do that. That gets our material up. Now we just need to deal with this side. So if we were to cut here, there's our 120 and there's our 120. We just need to get it into this machine with the least amount of belts possible. I feel like this is a good spot for it, because then this can at least go boom, right in there. And then this can just go like that. And then we get another elevator here. Now, where would this go that's the most efficient? If we just move this, say, here, we can turn it to output like that. One of these will be a straight line. The other will kind of be a straight line, like that. And that's our output. And we're well under power. Let's see if this machine works. It works! Fantastic. We got a new record on all of it and 5 stars. We're in top 33 for time, 20 for power, and 28 for space. So people can do it way more efficiently at 145. Amazing. But that's pretty good. That's a 5-star solution. We will work on optimizing to the top of the leaderboard another time.